Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Mary Gardner with Lap of Love Veterinary Hospice, and welcome all you fellow dog and cat lovers out there. I wanted to talk today on this Facebook Live about cognitive dysfunction. So if your dog or cat has been diagnosed with this, or you might have suspicion what this is, or that your pet has it, I wanted to kind of give you just a little bit of a high-level overview of what is cognitive dysfunction in our pets, because we actually see it a lot more often than you may imagine, and a lot of times families don't even realize that their pet has this, and so it's one of those like, oh, I never knew a dog could have this problem. So. Or a cat also. So again, I'm going to be talking about cognitive dysfunction, and it is an ailment that's chronic, it's progressive, and the symptoms that a pet may have actually just vary amongst species and just within the species itself. So dogs might have, one dog may show one sign where another has something totally different. And some of the most common signs that we see are change of interactions. So whether it's a change where they're interacting less with the family or their housemates, or they're almost more clingy, so they're just just almost more under your feet, if you will. We might see that as well. So just change in interaction with the family. A big one is change. So a change in a sleep pattern where they either sleep more, or they're up during the night and they pant or pace, or just can't really seem to get settled. And this is for both dogs and cats. We see this in all of these, actually. We might see some disorientation. So if you've ever noticed them just standing in the middle of the room, kind of looking dazed and confused, if you will, or just standing in a corner and getting stuck in places that they normally shouldn't kind of get stuck in, and they just get lost, if you will. So just having that disorientated feel about them. Also house soiling. So in a cat, that usually is goes in their litter box, or a dog that has never had an accident ever in the house all of a sudden has an accident, that could actually be another sign of this cognitive dysfunction. Of course, all these signs might have some other causes, but it's definitely something to keep on our list to think about. So Thomas says, hi from 33,000 feet above the earth. So hi, Thomas. Thanks for joining so far up above. So another sign that we may see is that there's just change in learning activity as well. So, old dogs can learn new tricks, okay? So, but we do see sometimes a decline in them just maybe learning new habits in the house or new rules in the house, and it takes them longer to get kind of acclimated. And then something I see more with cats is vocalization. So I know one time, a couple of months ago, I did a Facebook Live on cat vocalization, and that is something that we see a lot with cats, and I will do my interpretation of it. So if your cat just wanders around the house and meow, that was my Bodhi. That was in honor of him, his how he sounded when he used to just kind of get into this state. Now also, how often that they get into one of these disoriented or confused states will vary. So some pets may have it every couple of days, where they just seemed a little dazed and confused, like I said, and then others, sadly, will be in that state for hours and hours. I remember I helped one family say goodbye to their husky, and he was just probably 12 hours a day in just a state of just anxiety and disorientation and just pacing in circles, and it was so stressful for the family to see, and she was drooling a lot, and so there was just a river of drool, and she was so anxious. So there was a lot of anxiety that the family noticed. Sorry, it was a boy. So anyway, it is a progressive problem that we see, and sadly, 50% of dogs over the age of 10 will have some level of cognition issues. So that's a lot of dogs. we don't have an exact number for kitty cats, but I definitely do say that our families do share that they see some of these changes. And a lot of these changes are very similar to Alzheimer's in humans. And so that's why when I'm talking to families, I'll kind of compare the two, because we know so much about what Alzheimer's is and some of the struggles that the families have to deal with if you've got a family member with Alzheimer's. So they're kind of the same. And basically, a lot of times it's due to just loss of neurons in your brain, free radical buildup, and things like plaque accumulation that we see in humans is also what they suspect is the cause in our dogs and cats. So a big problem of this is not only anxiety for the pet, so if they get confused or they get in a state of just worry, if they're pacing so much and they just tire themselves out or they get lost. I also worry about the human-animal bond, because it's not something easy to manage, and it gets taxing on the families. And I myself have had a cat that had cognitive dysfunction, Bodhi, like I mentioned, and every night, and that got to be very taxing on my family. I currently have a 12-year-old Anatolian Shepherd who has started to have some mild symptoms as well. So Rich says that Jolie's 13 may be showing some signs. Yeah, so it's very common in that age, just like us. You know, we're gonna maybe forget some things or get a little anxious or confused as we get older. But it's definitely something that I see a lot in our families. So with Sam, my girl, so she's starting just to be lower levels of activity in a weird way. She'll be so excited to go outside for a walk, and then when she goes outside for the walk, it's just like she turns into Eeyore, and she's just like, okay, I'm on my walk. And I'll tell you guys what I've been doing with her as well. So I know that bond is so important, and when they struggle with these cognitive dysfunction, we may have that bond just strained a little bit. Some things that you can do, though, is, well, I encourage all of you to see your veterinarian, because a lot of these symptoms I've mentioned can also be caused by other issues. So we definitely want to make sure that we've ruled out other causes of, like, hormonal changes. Thyroid levels might be elevated or lower in this certain species. So I definitely encourage you to see your veterinarian so you can talk to them about ruling out other things, and is this probably our cause for the problems. So also, environmental enrichment is something that's fun and that you can do around your house to just keep the brain working, right? If you don't use it, you'll lose it. So I love different game activities, which would be simple as getting a good friend of mine, Steve Dale, he told me this trick where you get some newspapers, you throw out some newspapers on the ground, you put the treats underneath the newspaper, so the dog or the cat has to go actually and work for their treats. Get the mind going. You know, the nose of dogs has like 300 million smell receptors, and a third of their brain is dedicated to scenting. And so if we can keep that active, then that will just help just keep those neurons firing, and that's what we want. So simple, cheap games like that. For kitty cats, you could get the toilet paper roll, the end of the toilet paper roll, you know, just the cardboard, and poke some holes in it, staple the ends, and put in some treats, and that way, you know, they have to play with it to get the treats out. So these are the homemade versions, but there's so many different games available, you know, that you can buy for your pet at the pet store or online. That is just some brain games. So there's a lot of different puzzle games that you could do, and another game that I play with Sam is I'll get a muffin pan, and so you've got the 6 holes, if you will, for the muffins, and you get tennis balls, and you put the tennis balls in on top, and then I put a treat in a couple of those holes, so that way she has to kind of sniff her way through that muffin tin for the tennis ball that's got the treat underneath it. And you know, I really like doing it because it just gives me time with her, and so that's also a nice benefit. So so environmental stimulation. Now, also I want you to be careful of your environment, because like I said, they do get stuck, or they also forget where things are. So I want you to be mindful of keeping them safe. And so I have a pool, and that's why I'm sitting out here, because I wanted to remind myself to talk to you guys about the pool, because a lot of times they might forget about where the pool is, and when they're also struggling with some vision issues and it's nighttime, they may actually have accidents and fall in the pool. So just be very careful, especially if you have somebody else taking care of your pet, to make sure that they know that, you know, they could get lost and they could get stuck in areas that they should not be. I know one family, their little one got stuck in the garage, and she just got so lost and turned around. So I want to try to avoid that. So keep them safe. Now, what about some medications? There's only one FDA-approved drug for dogs, and that's called Stimulation. Big name. And there are some veterinarians that are using this, what we say, off-label on cats. And so definitely I would like to suggest for all of you to, like I said, see your veterinarian and see if that's something that is something you want to try. The only thing I want to just prepare you for is that we have to give it a good 2 months before we start to see effects, right? We have no magic solution for this. There is no cure, but just like in humans, there's no cure for it. But is there something that we can do to at least slow down the progression? And so Stimulation is something that I definitely recommend to a lot of my families, but when you have enough time to see results. So we need about 2 months just to start seeing a little bit of change. There's also other nutraceuticals on the market that have not scientifically been proven, let's say, but you know what, at this point, I'll try anything. Then there's also some foods out there that I recommend. So Hills has a diet, and also Purina has something called NeuroCare. And there's some fatty acids and some antioxidant ingredients. And that's actually what I've put Sam on. So Sam has been on it for about maybe 2.5 months now, and just the other day I was like, you know, she seems a lot perkier, and she's playing with our other younger dog a lot more, and that's the only change so far. It's just putting her on that diet, and I could definitely see just more alertness, if you will. So I think I'm gonna keep her on it because I think we're going in the right direction. So I just wanted to at least share with you that this is a disease that we do see in our pets. It's very similar to Alzheimer's. So if you start to see these changes, definitely put this on your list and go see your veterinarian. We're going to be posting a link, I think we've already done that, with some more information on our website about cognitive dysfunction. And again, both dogs and cats have this problem. So this is not something to say, oh, my cat's just not, you know, he's getting old and he doesn't want to interact with us. Like, maybe actually there's some cognitive dysfunction going on. Don't get frustrated with them. So you know, they don't mean to get in trouble. They don't mean to get stuck. They don't mean to have soiling in the house. They just don't know. They just don't know. They don't remember where their litter box is. We might have to put out more litter boxes for them. You may have to, you know, maybe take it out from the closet and make sure they can see it or smell it. Make sure your dogs don't get into your litter box. So, you know, definitely this is not the time to shun them. You know, I know that, trust me, I know how frustrating it can be when I've dealt with my cat and now my dog, and I know what families are struggling with. So I know that it's hard. And so know that you're not alone. There's a great Facebook group that I'm actually a member of, and we're gonna post the link if we can. So it's a cognitive dysfunction, more for dogs, so it's a canine cognitive dysfunction group. And it's just a wonderful place just to get support, because you know, sometimes just knowing that you're not alone, that you're not silly for loving your dog as much as you do, or your cat, and that it's not easy. And you know, Alzheimer's in humans is one of the most massive problems that the family face, and so many families face it, and there's a lot of caregiver burden around that, and so I know that also happens with our families. And so I hope this little Facebook Live just gave you just a little bit more interest in this disease. You know, like I said, unfortunately there's not a test we can know for sure if your pet has it, and we have no cure. So it is something that we see in our older pets, and hopefully we can keep their environments enriched. I want to keep them safe, and certainly talk to your veterinarian about adding a supplement, maybe some medication, and least of all, just maybe try to change their food that will give it more, like I said, fatty acid and just some neural support. So we were going to post some stuff up on in our comments, and if you guys ever have any suggestions for live videos that you would like me to do not hesitate to reach out and let us know. And so have a great rest of your week. Take care. Bye.